All right, everybody. Welcome to step number 3 on how to close more deals. I hope you guys that watched step 2 and step 1, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was exciting. I hope it was beneficial. And now here is your reward. Step number 3. Before we start step number 3, you know what to do. If you're watching this on my channel, hit the subscription button below. If you like it, smash that like button. Share your comments, share your thoughts. Let me know what you think. It does help me and it does help the algorithm. All right, let's get into step number 3. It won't be a long one because most of the work was done in step number 2 and some of it in step number 1. But step number 3 is the most, step number 1 is the most important. Step number 3 is the most valuable. And then step number 3 is what I call solidification. It's called the real value. What I mean by real value is you've earned that relationship. You've earned that business. It's truly a win-win situation. So when you get to step number 3, your trust has increased dramatically. Your value has increased tremendously. And your respect that they have for you is absolutely off the charts. Why? Because they bought this vehicle. They took ownership of it. They want it. You see, you got to, if they need something, a prospect needs something, you got to get them to want it, right? That's a big difference. So now step 3 is the real value. It's called the close, right? At the end of the day is they are willing to start a relationship with you. Now you're going to have to start delivering and performing for them. That's the key to this. So step number 3 is the relationship. You have to start now producing what you said you were going to be able to do. Because you see, a customer is one time, a client is a relationship. So you turn them in from a prospect to a customer, and hopefully with your production and producing results, they become a client. That's what you're looking for. And then step number 3 is, let's say, and this could happen. Let's say you did step number 1 right, step number 2, and you're ready to ask for the order. Or before you ask for the order, here's what I do. Once I did my presentation, I did the story, I finished the body, and I'm transitioning to the close. Here's what I say. Mr. Client, do you like the idea that I presented to you? Or do you like the idea? You could keep it short. Again, when you ask a question, it's not just asking the question, it's how you ask the question. You don't want to overtalk the sale at this point. You want to just be specific because you want to address any concerns that they may have before they send you the money. Mr. Client or John Doe or prospect, do you like the idea that I presented to you? Yes, Paul. Great. Does the idea I presented to you make sense? Yes. Let's say they don't, let's say they like the idea, but it doesn't make sense. That's okay, because sometimes you may like something, but you may not quite sure understand, or it just sounds good, right? But the questions are set up where they can't lie to you. You have to catch them in that. You can't allow people to lie to you. And so, do you like the idea? Yes. Does the idea make sense to you? Chances are, if it doesn't make sense, they can't like it. It's almost difficult or very rare that something makes sense, but you don't like it. Or it could make sense, but you may not like it. But you cannot like an idea that doesn't make sense. You see what I'm saying there? So the idea makes sense, but you may not like it. But if it doesn't make sense, how can you like it? I can't like something that doesn't make sense. I don't get it because I have to understand the idea. Now, once I understand it, I may not like it, right? But if I understand the idea, I may not like it, but if I don't understand the idea, there's no way I could like it. It's just impossible. That's why those questions are set up that way. So, Mr. Prospect, do you like the idea? Yes. Does the idea make sense? See, you can't like an idea that doesn't make sense. You see what I'm saying? So if he says yes, it makes sense. Now the third question, I call these the box close questions because now I'm boxing them in. They can't get out. Does do you understand the value I'm offering you with this idea and how it's going to help your business? Do you understand the value and how this is going to help your business? You see what I'm saying? Because you have to like it, it has to make sense, and they have to understand it, right? They have to see the value. They have to know that this is going to produce results for them that is going to solve their problem. Like they may have cancer and you have the cure for it. So when they say yes to these three, guess what I say? How would you like to take ownership of this? How do you want to do this? How do you want to drive that vehicle out of the parking lot? Now, they say yes to all three questions. Let's just say, for argument's sake, or for teaching purposes, that the prospect tells me no, I don't want to do it. Now I'm going to get to the real hardcore. This is why me closing is different. The selling is over. It's time to push now. This is the difference between a salesperson and a closer. A closer knows how to push through resistance. A closer knows how to understand transition. And a closer knows how to adjust to everything in the environment. Why? Because they set the tone. So let's say this prospect says, I'm not ready to do this or I don't want to do this. Here's my rebuttal. Mr. Klein, I understand and respect that. And the real reason why you don't want to do this is because you don't know me, you don't know my company, and I don't have a relationship with you yet, right? Most people say yes. That's what the real issue is, which means I didn't do my job well enough to sell me, right? So here's what I say after I say that. Once they say yes, now I got their bullet. They're gone. So I say, let me ask you this question, Mr. Prospect. If I had been your salesperson or your advisor or your representative, or I had a relationship with you and I made you money over the years, you would do this with me, right? Yeah, Paul, I would do that. So the problem is you don't know me, you don't know my company, and we don't have a relationship, right? Yes. Now I go into it and I say, you know what, John? I understand that. But do you remember your first client? Do you remember how hard you worked and got rejected before you got that first client? Well, guess what, John? You're my first client. You say, I am? Well, every client is always their first client for me. I never lose that feeling. I never forget that. So, John, how do you want to take ownership of this? Let's say he says the same thing. Well, I'm not ready to do this. I'll say, okay, John, you make decisions every single day, right? When you see something of value, you're not afraid to make a move, right? Yes. So, John, I'm not asking you to make any decision today that you don't make every day. So, all I'm asking for you is one shot to earn your business. And then when I produce for you, then I'm going to earn your relationship. Fair enough? Okay, Paul. That's closing. I made it personal. I basically called them out. But you can't do that unless you do step number two the right way, where you qualify them, where you know it's not about the money anymore. They could afford to buy what you're offering, but at least you got to the root of the real objection, which is they just don't know you. I get that. But you have to know how to overcome that. So closing is not easy because you got to be able to push against everything. So I throw the kitchen sink at everybody. I give it everything that I have. I box close them. I never leave a phone call without shortchanging anybody because I owe it to the prospect to give them everything that I have. I have to push because it's in their best interest. That's what closing is. So step number three is closing the deal. Step number three is win-win relationship, profitable relationship. But they're not just going to give you an order just because you sounded good. Does that make sense? Anyway, guys, that was step number three. I hope it was helpful. Again, if you like this video, smash the like button, share your comment, subscribe to my channel, and again, apply these things, and I promise you that it will work. Till we speak again, I say goodbye. This is Paul Cruz presenting the Martial